It'll be Tuesday. Well, let's get underway and let's learn again with apologies about the misprint, and we'll take care of it for next week. 7:50. Well, after Yontif, we go back to learning. I'll be away for part of July, but I should be here for the rest of June. So that will be good. The second day of Shavuot. Look for the exact time in the schedule. It's been going to be printed on Friday. Thereabouts. Okay. So our topic that we've been covering the last period of time is about the particular moments when in midstream the Beit Din decides that they're going to make a second Adar, and the conversation about when there are two Adars, do we have a hard and fast rule about which one is Maleh and which one is Chaser? Are they both Maleh? Are they both Chaser? Is it left up to the decision-making power of the Beit Din each time? Or is it fixed? And we had seen previously, we have to go back each time because otherwise no one's down the Gemara coming. We had discussed the idea that even though there were certain months when the witnesses were going to go out, it was at the bottom of 18a, 6 months that the shluchim will go out, Nisan, Av, etc. It's only 6 out of the 12 months. But it did mention among them, on the end of the list, Al Kisim Pnei Chanukah, Al Adar Pnei Hapurim. So it didn't mention Adar Sheni, and then the Gemara, that's what it's getting into. Adar Aleph, Adar Bet. If you already know in Shvat there's going to be an Adar Bet, no problem. You're going to send Shluchim out. You should know there's going to be Adar Bet. If there's a formula for knowing how many days are in each of the months. Today, everything is set. We know that certain months are going to have 29 days. Elul is going to be 29. Tishrei is going to be 30. It mostly alternates. There's Cheshvan Kislev. Sometimes it's a bit funny. Depends on what year of the 19-year cycle the calendar we're in. What we had seen previously on 19b was that on Kislev Mipnei Chanukah Val Adar Mipnei Hapurim, the Gemara got into the idea about the Ibur Shana, and the Ibur Shana question was why? So let's say they add an extra month. Well, obviously they had to know about Pesach. So that's why, because they had to know Pesach's not now, it's in a month from now. But the Gemara was entertaining some other questions about this. One of those is, when's the real Purim? Is the real Purim Adar Aleph or Adar Bet? And if we add an Adar Bet in midstream, meaning they didn't know it was coming. If they knew it was coming a long time before, in Tevet, the Beit Din already somehow decided, we're making 2 Adars this year. This is before a calendar was set. Then obviously they're going to keep Purim in the second Adar. But if they don't know, and the first Adar came, and they celebrate Purim, and then the Eidim come, so they tell them, the Shluchim rather, tell them, oh no, it's the second Adar. Did they have to do Purim again, or they did Purim? Okay, it would have been better to do it in the second Adar, but it didn't. So they're going to do all the mitzvahs again, and that's a machloka. And the fact that the Mishnah didn't mention one way or the other is the argument from silence we'll see presently. Yeah.
I apologize, but when did they decide before the calendar to do the Adar Bet at Rosh Hashanah, or was it at Rosh Hashanah they said, oh, we're going to need another Adar?
Lav Davka. It could have been any of the intervening months. We had that discussion previously. They tried to do it early in the year. Right. No, it's okay. But one of the possibilities was, that's actually what we're going to be talking about. It's already in Adar Aleph when they decide we're adding an Adar Bet. So obviously if they send Shlichim to tell them, oh, by the way, Pesach's not when you think it is, it's a whole month from now. Oh. And the Gemara here, again, midstream at Yotet Amud Bet, Vilanit Abra Hashana Yotzin Afal Adar Sheni Mipnei Hapurim, right? Lokatane Matnitin. It didn't say that in the Mishnah. It didn't mention. All the Mishnah said was we're going to send them out in Chodesh Adar because of Purim. That's all it said. Well, what if there's 2 Adars? Mishnah didn't say. Oh, why didn't it say? Delo Kirabi. Obviously, it doesn't follow the opinion of Rabbi. Rabbi redacted the Mishnah, but not everything in the Mishnah follows his opinion. Tanya, as we learned in a Braita, Rabbi Omer, Imit Abra Hashana, Yotzin Af al Adar Hasheni, Mipnei Hapurim. I'm in 1019b, yeah? If the year is intercalated, meaning you're adding an extra full month. So then we're going to have to send out the shlichim according to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi for the second month as well, right? The Chachamim obviously didn't hold that way. They don't think you have to do it. So lema b'hakamiflige. Let's say that's what the argument is. The mar savar kol mitzvah noagot b'sheni noagot b'rishon. Umar savar kol mitzvah hanoagot b'sheni ein noagot b'rishon. Maybe the argument here is the argument between the Chachamim and Rabbi, regarding two Adars. Do you, the mitzvah that you did in the first month, you do again in the second month? It's a carbon copy. Or whatever you did in the second month, you don't do in the first month, i.e., there's only one celebration of Purim. And it's the one celebration of Purim. If you happen to do it in the wrong month, so you're going to do it again, because the real Adar is the second one, the one closer to Pesach.
We did in the second month, you had to do in the first month.
Whatever you did in the second month, you don't do in the first month. Right? Kol mitzvot hanoagot. The first statement is kol mitzvot hanoagot b'sheni, noagot b'rishon. Whatever mitzvahs you can do in the second month, you could just easily do in the first month. But Rabbi Yehuda Nasi disagrees. He thinks kol mitzvot hanoagot b'sheni, ein noagot b'rishon.
Make the decision of what to do in both Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni at the beginning of Adar Rishon.
Ideally, it's well before the beginning of Adar Rishon. Ideally, it's many months before. They know there's two Adars, and they tell everybody, by the way, when Purim, they send the Shlichim out in Adar, when they get there, they tell them, oh, this is Adar Aleph. In a month from now, you're going to do Purim. Don't do it now. The case, though, that I mentioned is the one that's coming. It's already the month of Adar. For whatever reason, they didn't do it earlier. So now it's already the month of Adar. Now they have to send the Shlichim out, but they already kept the first Purim. They kept Purim already in the first month. Then they find out, oh, that was the wrong month. You got to do it. You got to do. We added an extra month. It's the middle of Adar, and the 17th of Adar, they decide, we should have done this sooner. We should have interpolated the year. We didn't. Let's do it now. So now we're going to add an extra month of Adar. So how are they going to? They have to go tell the people from the other places that are far away. Otherwise, they're going to do Pesach. Well, that's Rabbi's argument that it needs to be done in the second month. And if it wasn't done in the second month, then you have to do it in the second month. It means repeating it. The Chachamim, the plural. And if it was done in the first month, it's not good enough, because the real Adar, in quotation marks, in a year where there's two Adars, is Adar Sheni. The Chachamim disagree. They think it's interchangeable. If you did it in the first already, what are you making everybody do it a second time? You could hear the logic of that. No, I did it. It was Adar, came Purim, I observed, I read the Megillah, I did the mitzvahs, finished.
The logic is good, assuming you did it at the right time.
Well, the question is it the wrong time? It was Chodesh Adar, the 14th of Adar, and the 15th of Adar, we celebrate Purim.
Based on celebrate Pesach on the 27th of Nisan.
Well, no, Mapitom. No, it's not. That's not the point. There is. They know the date of the month that you're going to celebrate Purim.
To statement that they did it in Adar
On the 14th of Adar in Chutz La'aretz. They celebrated Purim. The calendar said 14 Adar. They didn't know it was Adar 1. They only find out retroactively, oh, that was really just Adar 1. So the Chum say, fine, so they did it. Done. It was Adar. That's what they thought. That's correct. And Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, no, once you add a second month, you need to celebrate Purim in the second of those 2 months. And if you did it in the first month, it was a mistake. That's all. Yeah.
Two different communities celebrating different times. So like if they had it, they announced, they said, oh, we got to add a new month like on the 12th of Adar. In Jerusalem, they'd know, but like they wouldn't send out people.
Seems not. Yeah.
So they would only celebrate,
Min Hastam. Yeah. Because they were in proximity, so they knew. I guess.
If you wanted to point me to a place where I could understand why they decided Adar would be the extra month versus El Teshvan.
End of the year.
No, where would I find that information?
That discussion?
Yeah.
I mean,
could have picked a month with no
holiday.
Like festival.
Fair point.
But somehow they picked Adar, and there must have been a reason why they picked Adar.
End of year and closest here is very simple. Closest to the spring equinox, and they're concerned that Pesach has to be in Chodesh HaAviv.
That would have happened if you added a month anywhere.
True, except they may not have been aware of the discrepancy between those two calendars as much as when they get to the springtime and they realize, oh, wait a minute.
I'll look it up on my own.
No, I'm explaining. The Adar is year end in the cycle of months. Nisan must be Chodesh HaAviv, and Chodesh HaAviv has a particular relationship. Aviv has to do with the type of crop that's around at that time, and it has to be in the spring. So in the spring season, which is called Tkufat Nisan, we saw previously, doesn't always exactly line up with Chodesh Nisan. That's what's being played around with when we do a leap year, we call a leap year, we're adding an extra month to recalibrate solar and lunar calendars. When they did it ad hoc, again, debate, not resolved. Rambam Ritva, we saw that. The Rambam thinks it's ad hoc, but it's ad hoc in a ceremonial way because, of course, they already knew Halacha Moshe Sinai, essentially, exactly how the calendar functioned. Ritva says, no, ad hoc was they were just driving along and whatever was happening was happening. Later on, when they realized there's no choice as a contingency plan, they come up with the calendar and they cement that, into well, it's not cement, it's not the right word, but they formalize it. The nafkamina here is about this idea about planning, right? If you know already what the calendar is and how it's going to work, so you might only be doing it year end in Adar, in which case everyone has a long runway because you decided in Cheshvan or Kislev, oh, this year we're for sure going to have to push the year ahead, meaning you add an extra month. So we forestall a Pesach out of season. But if you go with the Ritva's approach, they didn't necessarily have that kind of foresight, right? And they didn't get there in time. And now it's Adar. It's like, oh my goodness. So what are we going to do? We got to add a month. We can't not have Pesach, Yom Tov D'Oraita in the right month. By the way, there is, if you can hark back to Pesach, before Pesach, the Shabbos Hagadol Drasha, I was telling you that story, strange story in Psachim Samach Vav, about what happened with the Bnei B'Tera and Hillel Hazaken. You might recall it was Erev Pesach Shechal b'Shabbat, and the Gemara says that the Bnei B'Tera, who were great Chachamim, it says that they forgot, and they want to know, does anyone know what to do with this halacha? Because on Shabbos you'd have to do the shechita of the Korban Pesach, remember? And they're not sure like what to do. And in the end, Hillel comes to them and he makes an argument basically that yes, the shechita of the Korban Pesach will supersede Shabbos, whether he did that through different hermeneutic interpretive means, kal v'chomer, v'chulei, or whether he, according to Yerushalmi, in the end they reject all of that, and he says, I heard it from a Rebbeim Shemayin of Talion, and they accept, and they can make the Korban Pesach happen, the shechita on Shabbos. You remember there's a denouement to the story where then they ask Hillel, well, you know so much, in earnest. They say, here are the keys, you take over. But we have one question. How will people bring the knife if they forgot to bring the knife before Shabbos? They'd have to bring the knife to the mikdash because the knives, once you do it, for various reasons, you can't keep doing it again and again and again in the same korban, on different korbanot. It dulls the knife. They're all different problems. So it says, what did it say? Hillel didn't remember. He didn't remember. So he said, oh, we're going to wait for the people to come. They'll figure it out, okay?
They put it in the.
They put it in the fur and between the horns, depending. But now, why did I remind you that whole story? When it says the Bnei B'Tera forgot, most Mefarshim understand that to mean they forgot the halacha, but what happens when Erev Pesach falls out on Shabbos. I don't remember now who it is. One of the Perushim on the Shas says, you know what they forgot? The Bnei B'Tera forgot that because of the configuration of that particular year, they were supposed to add an extra day to the end of Adar to make sure that it would be pushed off so it wouldn't fall out, Erev Pesach would not fall out on Shabbos, but on Sunday. And that's what they forgot. They forgot to make the calculation happen so that they would make sure that the Kiddush HaChodesh was on the day that it needed to be on in order to push things off. That's both for our moment and also foreshadowing what we'll learn tonight. Why am I bringing up the whole story? Because the point is, like, apparently it happened, at least according to some. It would happen. It's Adar, and they realize, hey, I got an extra month. Now what? I got to tell the people far away, you know that Purim that you did? You have to do it again, according to Rabbi. But the Mishnah, which Rabbi redacted, didn't say that you have to go a second Adar. It doesn't mention the second Adar. So the fact you don't have to send second Adar, Shluchim, implies that there's something baked in where if there's a second Adar, we have to let them know about that before Nisan. So that when Nisan, when the second Adar happens, obviously they're eventually going to have to know. But we know the same time pressure they have to know before Purim rolls around because they did Purim previously. Follow? Okay. And there are other nafkamim also. Yeah.
So what was Rebbe's rationale for that?
That the Gemara had
Pesach and
that Pesach and Purim have to be together.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The Gemara Megillah Daf Tet, which has a discussion and it comes to that conclusion ultimately. Purim to be Somer Geula. So from Purim the Geula of Pesach. So on that, you're making everybody do Purim again. So it is questionable, and but that's the discussion. So the Gemara figures, it didn't mention that if there's an intercalation of the year, they add extra months. They also go out regarding Adar Sheni because of Purim. That doesn't say that, right? So therefore, the Mishnah is Dilo Rabbi. It must not follow Rabbi's approach. The Tanya Rabbi Omer imit Abra Hashana Yotzin Af Al Adar Hasheni Mipnei HaPurim. He says that if they were intercalating the year, you do have to. Now, Rabbi redacted the Mishnah, so you would think he would put his own sentence into his own Mishnah. Why did he leave it out? Because clearly he knew the halacha didn't follow him. So the Gemara says, no, so lema b'hakam iflige. This is what the argument must be about. The Marsavar kol mitzvah nogot b'sheni, nogot b'rishon. It must be that Chachamim hold that whatever you did in the second month, you could have also done in the first month. And you did it, so it's finished. Umar Savar's Rabbi, and therefore, since you shouldn't have done it in the first month, even though you did do it in the first month, so now you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to figure out how to do Purim a second time. Yeah. So the Gemara answers, no. Look, the kule alma mitzvah nogot b'sheni ein nogot b'rishon. The truth is, everybody agrees. Rabbi and the Chachamim both agree that whatever you do in the second month, you can't do in the first month, i.e., Purim has to be really in the second Adar. So v'hacha b'ibur shana kamifligay. What the real argument is about, and the reason why there's a glaring omission, seeming omission, from the perspective of the Mishnah, is as follows: the Tanya kama ibur shana. How much is an ibur shana? When you add an extra month, how long is it? And the answer of the Chachamim is shloshim yom. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel omer chodesh. It's a month, 30 days or a month, right? I did this experiment when we learned it, I think 2 times ago. We passed over these words, right? Right? I'll see you in a month. How many weeks is that? 4 weeks is a month. How many days is that? Not 30. Sometimes there's 5 weeks in a month. It's not really 30 either. It's 31. Yeah. So, okay. So, Maishna Shloshim, the Yadeh. Chodesh Nami Yadeh. So what do we need? Shloshim, and Chodesh. People also know what a Chodesh is. You know what a month is? A month. So Amar of Papa, Manda Amar Chodesh, Ratza Shloshim. All right. So the one who said Chodesh, the reason why I said a month is to leave the flexibility that there could be some back and forth depending on what they would decide in the Beit Din, whether that month, the extra month would be 29 or 30 days. All right. Manda Amar Chodesh, Ratza Shloshim. Right. Haid Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Mishum Kahala Kadisha Yerushalayim, Al Shnei Adarim Shemekachim Otem B'Yom Ibureim. All right. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi testified on behalf of the holy community of Yerushalayim that the Kiddush HaChodesh each time would be on the Yom Ibureim. Right. Lamemer de Chaserin Avdinan Malayin Lo Avdinan. Maleh and Lo Avdinan, sorry. Meaning to say, they would make them always Chaserin, Adar Aleph, Adar Bet, were both only 29 days, and they were never 30 days. That's what it sounds like Rabbi Shubin Levi was saying. Yeah? In other words,
you get the reasoning in that?
Yeah, sorry. Everyone knows what 30 days is. No, everybody knows what a month is also. No, the point is that the word month can be a month, meaning 29 days, or it could be 30 days, 28 days and 12 hours and blah, blah, blah. It could be 29 days, yeah? So it would depend. In other words, the point here is that Rabbi Shimon Gamliel was saying there's a certain flexibility that's left up to the Beit Din, where they add an extra month, but the Chachamim thought, no, it's always a 30-day addition. So Rabbi Shimon Levi gets into the discussion, and he says, but on behalf of the holy people of Yerushalayim, I'm telling you, when there are 2 Adarim, they would always be Makadesh the Chodesh in both Adars, on day 30 became day 1 of the new month. They were both chaser. 29 days, and the 30th day was already day 1 of the new month. Lamemra, the chaser and avdinan, Malayin lo avdinan. Let's say that it was to show that you could have a month that is chaser, but not a month that is full, right? I.e. not a 30-day month. Lafuke midadarash Rav Nachman bar Chizda. It's to get us out of the drasha of Rav Nachman bar Chizda, which is, here we go. He'id Rabbi Simoy mishum Chagai Zachari uMalachi. Pointed out last time, it can't mean literally. Rabbi Simoy met Chagai Zachari uMalachi because the timing doesn't seem to. Yeah, doesn't seem to work. But the point is, there was a tradition. Chagai Zachari uMalachi said this. What do they say? Al Shnei Adarim Shim Ratzu Lasot on Shneihen Melein Osin Shneim Chaserin Osin Echad Maleh Echad Chaser Osin. Everybody gets to decide how, the Beit Din of the time gets to decide how they want to make it happen. Both full, both lacking, one and one. It's totally up to them. They're going to decide. Going begola, right? This was the minute. Umishum Rabbeinu, Amru Rabbeinu here is Rav. They would say La'olam Echad Maleh Echad Chaser, right? Ad sheyivada lecha shehukbar rosh chodesh bizmano. You would assume that at all times we're dealing with a situation of one is Maleh and one is Chaser, unless you heard otherwise. Essentially, look at Rashi. Shehukva Rosh Chodesh Bismana. Ad she'amru lecha habayim me'eretz Yisrael kidshu Beit Din Rosh Chodesh Adar Hasheni b'yom shloshim la'Adar Harishon v'asur Harishon Chaser. Unless you heard otherwise, you had to assume that it was following a certain pattern. But you'd wait to hear. The point here is it's not really fixed. It's not like a hard and fast pattern. Maleh, chaser, 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 maleh, maleh. It just depended on the year. Okay, and the idea here that we're trying to figure out is the Mishnah had not mentioned that they go out for a second Adar, but really it must have been that they did, because we don't actually know how long the first Adar is going to be. It's not fixed. Could change. So that's the idea, and when you have this in mind, you can understand the next section, which is Shalchulei Lamar Ukva. They send the message to Mar Ukva. Adar Hasamuch, meaning from Eretz Yisrael, they send it to the Chutz La'aretz. Adar Hasamuch LaNisan LaOlam Chaser. Whenever there's the second Adar, if there's one Adar, it's Chaser. If there's two Adars, the second one's going to be Chaser. No matter what, which is strange because I thought we just finished saying could go either way. So no, we have more testimony that Adar Hasamach LeNisan was always going to be 29 days. The next day would be Rosh Chodesh Nisan.
So the previous example that you gave.
What?
The previous example that you gave from Shabbos Hagadol.
Yeah.
Was, from that they should have added a day. According to this, you can never add a day. It's always going to be 29.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So did they or didn't they? It's not clear, right? This is back and forth. We have this one saying, we have that one saying, and it's left up in the air. Exactly. That's part of the back and forth. Oh, we have testimony. We have testimony here, testimony there. Yeah. Chuck, please.
Yeah, testimony for Rosh Chodesh Nisan was managed how then?
Was what?
How was it managed in the end? As like any other Rosh Chodesh?
Oh, let's go. We're going. We're figuring it out. No, that's the question. That's the question on the table. Because we know the shlichim are going to go for Chodesh Nisan, but if you let's say it was fixed, okay? So let's say you knew that in second Adar they sent out shlichim. They said, "Oh, we just added an extra month." If you knew that it's always chaser, you don't need shlichim in Chodesh Nisan, do you? Because 29 days goes by, the next day is Rosh Chodesh. Doesn't matter if anyone shows up. We know. But if it's left up for grabs, the shlichim have to go out for Nisan, even in a year where they added an extra month, because it's not fixed. It's still up for grabs. Was it a 29-day month? Was it a 30-day month? That second Adar. We simply don't know. And that's the discussion. So Mar Ukva has this thing, Adar Samach Nisan, Lo Chaser. But Mativ Rav Nachman al Shnei Chadashim Mechalin al Shabbat. Rav Nachman is already quoting from a Mishnah that we haven't gotten to yet on 21b, the 2 months that you're going to be Mechal Shabbos for the witnesses to come from outside the Tchum, however they have to get there, in order to get to Yerushalayim, to make sure to announce, we saw that if they saw the moon on day 30, that that's going to be the Rosh Chodesh. They saw it, that's it, right? So they need them to be there, Nisan, and Tishrei. So he says, well, if that's true, if it's actually up for grabs, we don't know, then you really do need those witnesses, and you're really willing to set aside Shabbos to ensure that they'll get there on the right day, the day they saw it. That's how crucial Nisan and Tishrei are. If it's fixed, though, why didn't Michal Shabbos? You follow? So next page. What's the point? Right? Because one way or the other, and that's the first Rashi, either way, even if the witnesses don't come, you're in Mekadosh the Chodesh, because 29 days went by. Day 30 is really day 1 of Nisan. Mekudesh, you don't have to say the words even. It's just going to happen. It's fixed. Again, the whole extra month is the Beit Din decide we're adding extra month. So can't they also decide exactly how many days it's going to be? Sure. So if that's true, why is there a Mishnah Mefuresha telling us, oh, for Nisan they also have to go on Shabbos? So the Gemara tries to answer, Mishum de mitzvah l'kadosh ala re'iyah. Because you could say in English, for ceremonial reasons. I don't mean ceremonial in the American, manner of it. I mean, there's a mitzvah. The mitzvah is to be makash al pi re'iyah. So now listen to the words. You know already how the calendar works? That's very nice. But the mitzvah is to do it al pi re'iyah anyway.
And it says you have to bring it al pi edim. You have to bring edim.
Well, that's the thing. So al re'iyah means al pi edim. Dichtiv hachodesh zelachem rosh chodashim kazer ra'eva kadesh. See it and sanctify it. Even if you have a calendar, even according to the Rambam, that the calendar was already known. Doesn't matter. It's still a mitzvah. All right. According to the Ritva, his view, that approach, maybe generally they didn't know exactly when they were going to see it, except if they added the extra month of Adar and it was fixed to always be 29 days. In that case, you wouldn't need it. But the Mishnah didn't say that. The Mishnah made it sound like no matter what, they're Mechal Shabbos to get, for the Edom, to get to the Beit Din in time.
So since let's fix the months, are they real?
Yeah.
Why don't we do that today?
So we've discussed this idea previously, just to remind you. We would do it today if we had a Beit Din which had proper smicha in Yerushalayim. We don't have it. So that's why it ended. And we'll get it back when Mashiach comes. That's it. Yeah.
So it was fixed by Rabbi Hillel II in the year 362.
Yeah.
The fixed calendar.
Hillel Hasheni.
Yeah.
But there's a discussion. What does it mean that he fixed it? Does it mean he fixed it means he figured it out based on, 2 generations earlier and they figured it out? And now they needed to count it because they were stuck because they could no longer be Mekadosh Chodesh al pi re'iyah? Or they already had the calendar. Hillel Hasheni was the one who said, okay, let's go. We had the calendar all along. Till now, we didn't rely on it really because we still had the Kiddush al pi re'iyah for mitzvah purposes, even though really we understood how the calculation functions. But now we don't have a choice. So from now on, because there wasn't going to be a Beit Din in Eretz Yisrael, there's too many unfortunate realities of what was playing out for Klal Yisrael, and right. So and then you have here the idea that Rav Nachman had brought up here that see, if you look on the later Mishnah, since it says they're going to leave al shnei chodashim chalid Shabbat al Nisan val Tishrei Shabbat shluchin yotzin, right? So you don't need to do that for Nisan if it was an Iber Yor. If you claim that an Iber Yor, the extra month of Adar was always 29 days, wouldn't be necessary. Follow? Because Nisan doesn't come after the first Adar. Now it's coming after the second Adar, which is a fixed number of days. This is Rahman. See? The fact that the Mishnah didn't say any of that means that really they didn't know. That's why they made a blanket statement. All Nisans, both those that are coming after 1 Adar and after 2 Adars, both of them will require Shlichim. In either case, the Nisan will require Shlichim to be going out to the far reaches of where Jewish people live to ensure that they're going to observe Pesach and fulfill the mitzvah of Pesach in the right time. The Gemara here does one of the special Ika de Amrei moments where there's another view of how to understand what Rav Nachman said. Second line, Ika de Amrei, Amar Rav Nachman, of Ananami Tanena. I also hold this way. What's this way? Al Shnei Chodashim Mechalin et Shabbat, Al Nisan Al Tishrei. I also learn, and I hold this way. It's the Mishnah for us. It doesn't really have a choice, right? For 2 months, you can be Mechal Shabbos for Nisan and for Tishrei. Amart Bishlama Olam Chaser Mishum Hachem Chalalina, the mitzvah of the Kaddish L'Riyah. If you say that it's only chaser, it's always going to be the second one's always going to be chaser. So therefore, of course, it's mechal. Why? Because it's a mitzvah l'kadosh al piriyah. Ella. Zimnin Maleh Zimnin chaser. But if you say that it's one or the other, why do you say they should be mechalel? Na'abrei ha'idna u'nekatshe l'machar. Why don't we just say on day 30, no matter what, oh, you know what? We're not going to be Mekadosh Chodesh today. We'll wait till tomorrow. If that last day happens to be Shabbos, day 29 is Shabbos, well, we'll push it. We'll make it, day 30 should be Shabbos. So the next day will be Rosh Chodesh, right? V'nukadsheh l'machar. Id'ikla yom shloshim b'Shabbat, right? So if that will work. If the 30th day falls out on Shabbos, right? The ikla yom shloshim b'Shabbat hachinami. So hacha b'mayaskinan. So, but here's really the case we're dealing with. Now listen to the case. The ikla yom shloshim ve'echad b'Shabbat. It's at the 31st day. There's no 31st day of the month. 31st day is automatically day one of the new month. So it fell out at the 31st day of the month, fell out on Shabbos. The mitzvah l'kadosh al hariyah. What's mitzvah l'kadosh al hariyah mean? You still need to get witnesses in. So if the 31st day of the month fell out on Shabbos, and that's the day the witnesses potentially could come, we're going to let them come. We don't really need them. We're just going to declare anyway, day 31 equals day one of the next month. But mitzvah l'kadosh al piriyah, this is an ika de amre. It's the same words, but they're organized in a different way. Before, mitzvah l'kadosh al piriyah was, you see, mitzvah l'kadosh al piriyah, and therefore you could be machalel on a Shabbos, even if you knew exactly that it was always going to be 29 days that month, because still the ceremonial, the mitzvah fulfillment of having the witnesses show up was important enough. In the Ika de Amre, it's only in a configuration where day 31 falls out on Shabbos. Day 31 falls out on Shabbos. Now we're stuck. So we'll say, why don't we just say, well, okay, so that's automatically they didn't come on day 30, which was a Friday. So we know that's not day one of the new month. So they didn't show. Okay, so no, we still want them to come, even though they have to violate Shabbos to come on the first day, 31 of Adar is really day one of Nisan, because mitzvah l'kadosh al pi re'iyah. So Mativ Rav Kahana, Kshamikdash Kayam Mechalim Afal Kulan Mipnei Takanat Akorban. Wait a minute. When the Beit HaMikdash was standing, the truth is they would be Mechal Shabbos for any month. Why? Because you have to know when to give a korban, right? So, in other words, if the 30th day would fall out on a Shabbos, we definitely want the witnesses to come because we want to make sure they give the right korban for Rosh Chodesh, in addition to the korban of Shabbos. So that would happen any month if that was true. If it happened to work out the days of the week such that the 29th day going into day 30 was a Shabbos, that was true anytime, right? Yeah. It's a good example. Yeah.
We're talking about the witnesses to be Michal Shabbos.
The witnesses to be Michal Shabbos.
Yeah, not the shluchim.
What?
Not the shluchim.
Not the shluchim.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So afal kulan kshamikdash kayam mechayin afal kulan. Right? Why mipnei takanat hakorban? Yeah. So and if that's the case, midakulhu lav mishum the mitzvah l'kadosh al re'iyah nisan v'tishrei nami lav mishum mitzvah l'kadosh al re'iyah. Right? If you hold that every single month, the truth is when there was a Beit HaMikdash, we were interested in making sure they had the right korban. So it wasn't the reason why they were allowed to be Mechal Shabbos in the time of the Beit HaMikdash was not because it's mitzvah l'kadosh al pi re'iyah, but rather because they had to give a korban. And the mitzvah aseh of giving the korban was the korban tzibur was going to supersede the mitzvah of mitzvah lo taseh involving Shabbos. So we would allow them to come. But that'd be true any month. So the reason for Nisan and Tishrei, if it's mitzvah, if that was the reason for all the other months, that must be the reason for Nisan and Tishrei as well. It can't be they have to be Mekadosh al pi re'iyah, that's the reason we're willing to be Mechal Shabbos for that, right? La mishum the mitzvah l'kadosh al re'iyah. Nizvah tishrei nami la mishum the mitzvah l'kadosh al re'iyah. Iyamart bishlam azimnin maleh v'zimnin chaser mishum hachim chalalinan. If you, this all will work out, the Gemara says, if you hold that it was variable. Sometimes the last month of Adar was 29 days, some days 30. But if it was always chaser, there's no reason to be machalel. Why? Because you would already know that the next day was going to be Rosh Chodesh, no matter what. It wasn't actually up for grabs. The Gemara says, Tiyufta, yeah, that's just a question. We leave it like that. Okay? We have 10 minutes more. Next, related sugya, but related to what I spoke about at the beginning of the shir, involving the story with the Bnei B'Tera and adding a day, not adding a day. Ki'ata, last line of the narrow lines. Ki'ata ula amar, Ibrua le'elul. When he showed up, he said, he told them in Chutz La'aretz that they added an extra day to Elul. Elul is normally 29 days. Adi Yom Hazeh, that's how it works. Usually 29 days in Elul. But they were Ma'aber Elul, and it was 30 days long. So Amar Ula, Yadei Chaverin, Bavloi, my Tivuta of Dinan Bahadayu. You are good friends in Bavel. You should know what a great favor we did for you in Eretz Yisrael. So my Tivuta, what is this great favor? Ula Amar Mishum Yarkaya. It's because of the vegetables. Rav Acha Bar Chanina Amar Mishum Mataya. He said, Rav Acha Bar Chanina said it's because of the people who died. What are we talking about? What does that have to do with anything? I'm glad you asked. So if you look in Rashi will tell you right here. Look at Rashi. Yade Chavrin Bavloi. Kilomar Notnim Leiv Lahakir Tova Shosin Imayim Bnei Eretz Yisrael She'ibru at Elul. It's a big favor for the people who live in Chutz La'aretz that they were Ma'aber Elul in that particular year. Why? Mishum Yarkaya Rashi Lafrid Shabbat v'Yom Tov Zemizeh. Kedei shlo yichmoshu yirakot and echalot kshein chayin b'Shabbat she'achar Yom Tov or b'Yom Tov she'achar Shabbat. To avoid a 2-day Yom Tov, that was one day after the next. If you have Shabbos and a Yom Tov or Yom Tov and a Shabbos, all of the vegetables that they had picked would wilt. It's hot and there's nowhere to refrigerate them. So once you can't pick it on Yom Tov, certainly can't pick it on Shabbos. So it would end up that one of the 2 days, either you weren't able to pick it on Shabbos, and that you didn't have anything for Sunday, for first day for Yom Tov, so you had to pick it on Friday, so it was wilted, or the opposite. You wanted good fresh food for Shabbos, but you had to pick it on a Thursday because Friday was Yom Tov. Yeah, so that's Mishum Yarkaya. What's Mishum Mataya? La'afrid Shabbat v'Yom Kippurim zamizeh shliasriach meit shiamut be'echad mehen shiahei rishon v'lo yikaver lo hayom v'lo machar. Right? In the olden days, it was possible to have a Shabbos and Yom Kippur right next to each other. Not possible anymore because see under Hil Hasheni lo adu Rosh Hashanah can never fall out on a Sunday, Wednesday, or Friday, and that impacts how the rest of the calendar goes because everything flows from there. Lo adu Rosh. So the corpses, they were worried if it's a 2-day Shabbos then Yom Kippur then Shabbos. God forbid if someone died erev Yom Tov, there would be no way to have them buried on for 2 days, and that would not be covered on mate. So by adding an extra day to Chodesh Elul, they pushed it off so that Shabbos and Yom Tov had a day in between them in case to forestall this possibility. The Gemara then says, "So my benayu." Okay, what's the difference between these two things? Third line down in the Gemara. Ika benayu. Here's the difference between them. Yom Kippurim shechaliot achar Shabbat. If you had Yom Kippur, which was on a Sunday, Manda Amar Mishum Mataya Ma'abrina. For the corpses, it would be good to be distinguishing, making sure it wasn't 2 days in a row to separate them out. Umanda Amar Mishum Yarkaya, right? What's the what's the issue for that person, right? Le'emat kabai lehu le'urta. What are you going to do? You're just going to wait. You can do that. You can do it at night after Yom Kippur. You could go out and you'll so you'll have to pick. Like you can't eat on Yom Kippur anyway. So you have Shabbos. So before Shabbos, you pick the vegetables. You eat them on Shabbos. Then it was Yom Kippur. So after Yom Kippur, you go out afterward. Yeah. Lurta. So if you want, you go out at night. Lurta tarachumaiti. Right. You take it then. And you bring it back. There's no reason to have to take Erev Shabbos for after Yom Kippur. So that's nafkamina. Ulamada Mishum Yarkaya, le'abre Mishum Mataya. Okay, so let the person who says Mishum Yarkaya, of course, they also hold that because of the dead bodies that have to be buried. So no, here's the case. It's not Yom Kippur. It's really Yom Tov Samuch Shabbat. Bein Lefaneh, bein La'achoreh. Yom Tov before or Yom Tov after Shabbos. So Manda Amar Mishum Yarkaya Me'abrinan. Manda Amar Mishum Mataya Efsher Ba'amame. The truth is, on Yom Tov, you could have a non-Jew do the burial. On Yom Tov, not on Shabbos, but on Yom Tov, you could. So if that was necessary, they would have to ask a non-Jew to take care of it. And if they had to, okay. So what can you do? In other words, Yom Tov Hasamuch l'Shabbat, either before it or after it. That would be a problem for the people who need vegetables the second day of Kedusha. They wouldn't have vegetables. So Efshar ba'amameh, with the dead bodies, that was taken care of. So the Gemara says, "L'manda amar mishum matay la'avi mishum yarkaya." So let's say the people who hold that the reason why they would add an extra day is because of the bodies. Okay, but let them do it also for the people with the vegetables. The Gemara answers, "Efshar b'chamime." What's b'chamime? Rehydration. You could stick the wilted vegetables that were like dried out into hot water, and you would give them life again, and therefore, maybe it'd be okay. Rashi, third to last line in Rashi. B'chamime, shoram b'chamin, b'chozrot l'kadmutan. You soak them; they'll come back to their original state. Yeah, of what they were before. Yeah, so it's just an interesting idea. That you could find answers for each of them. Why the other one's purpose might not have suited them, and therefore they think that's the reason why Ula thinks it's a big toiva that he added an extra. They added an extra day to break apart Shabbos and a Yom Tov. Ihachi ma'ishna l'didan afili l'dunami. I mean, like, what's the difference between Israel and Chutz La'aretz? In Israel, you could also have a day of Yom Tov and then a Shabbos, or a Shabbos and a day of Yom Tov. L'didan chavilan alma, l'didu lo chavilahu alma. Has to do with the type of heat that exists in Bavel versus the type of heat that's in Eretz Yisrael. If you look at Rashi, last of the narrow lines, l'didan chavilan alma, anu b'nei Bavel cham lanu ha'olam, v'yesh lanu hevel, lefi shebebavel amukahi, ve'ena eretz harimu gvaot ke Eretz Yisrael. The land of Bavel is flat, and it's has a thicker air or atmosphere. It's not like a place that has a major topography of mountains and hills like Eretz Yisrael. Vein sholei ba'avir, and it doesn't have enough airflow. Vein b'nei Eretz Yisrael tzrichim la'aber mishum mataya. They don't have to do it for the dead bodies. Mishum yarkaya el b'shvilenu. They don't have to do it there for either for the bodies nor for the vegetables. Meaning the vegetables are not going to wilt really anyway, because the vegetables are going to be A-OK in Eretz Yisrael because the air of Eretz Yisrael, its quality is better than the quality in Bavel. But non-Jews could bury a body on Shabbos.
Yes.
On Shabbos or Yom Tov?
Oh, on Yom Tov, sorry, on Yom Tov, I meant to say, sorry, on Yom Tov. If you look, I skipped it, but Rashi, quoting from the Gemara in Beitza, Efshar ba'amameh, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines up in Rashi. No, it says Efshar ba'amameh.
It says
The Amar Mar, yeah. So then, okay, the Amar Mar mate b'yom tov rishon yitasku amamin. The non-Jews could take care of the body. Now, does it include doing a whole tahara and the whole thing? I mean, Astam, they could. I mean, I'm sure there were Jews standing by to watch it. But it's a major problem. There's no refrigeration, and you're worried about the covered mate. So
Yeah.
that's what you did. Shabbos, there's no choice, but Yom Tov, that's what they would do. Yeah. Okay. Just looking at the clock. I really don't want to go over, and I'm worried I'm going to be in the next section, and we're going to be tumbling around. The next section, where we'll start when we meet on Yom Tov, we'll start with Aini on Daf Chafam and Aleph. Aini, is that really so? We're going to talk about. It's not on the thing about the heat. It's going to be an issue about the witnesses coming, not coming, and who's imposing on who. We're going to learn on the second day of Yom Tov. I don't have the exact time yet. It'll be probably about 2 hours before Mincha, is my guess, because I'm going to give more of a popular shir, probably an hour before Mincha, or something like that. If you want to stay, you're welcome to. Very popular. Well, that's all we have time for tonight. Thanks for coming.